Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pop Go the Writers. No pop?
No problem. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So after all these months, of me carrying the show with the pop.
I appreciate it. I do appreciate it.
Laze around and do all the work, and then I just show up and go do that. Yeah. That was a really good one. Apparently, I should have gone lefty. So
this finger works the best.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Hey, Dan. How are you this week?
I'm going to say good, but it's been an emotional roller coaster of a weekend with the news we got on Saturday. Yeah. I mean, Free Comic Book Day. Yay! George Perez passed.
Yeah. Even though we've known.
Yeah.
I helped out at my old comic shop for Free Comic Book Day. And one of the guys, one of the other volunteers was apparently on his phone and ran around going, "Oh, George Perez died. And I'm like, well, that sucks. And shut up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't really have to go and individually tell every person in the store.
Yep.
They're going to find out eventually. But anyway, it just sort of yeah. I didn't really know George. I mean, we met a few times, but I've got some friends who are very good friends. Constance, who has been sending out the news for him, and his wife is a good friend of mine, and she's been doing that. And actually, like the day before, some guy got in her face about like, well, who are you anyway? Why are you getting to do this? And it's like, wow, in the midst of somebody, undergoing this stuff, anyway, he was when Uncanny X-Men over at Marvel and New Teen Titans was over at DC, Perez and Byrne were like the top of the heap, and George just kept doing great work until he couldn't anymore.
Yeah. He did a Black Widow story in Marvel Fanfare, which is one of my favorites. Love that. And that one of the characters from that is Rachel Weisz's character from the Black Widow movie. Iron Maiden is introduced there.
Yeah.
Just incredibly talented, super nice guy. I got to meet him a couple times. My favorite was walking into the Pasadena Convention Center, which is this tiny little place. It was the weekend that the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie was coming out, because they had a screening of it afterwards. After the show, everybody went to, and Evanescence actually played live at the screening. This was them really hyping it. But George was set up right near the front, and this show was not a good show. It's not the worst show I'd ever been to.
Yeah. But
there really wasn't a whole lot of people there. And it was a weird weekend anyway, because I was also, God, I'm going to hate myself for forgetting this name, but the actress that Phil Spector murdered.
Oh, good God. I should know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm also, yeah.
She was there that weekend with the Golden Apple booth along with Steve Niles, and I had gone over to talk to Steve, was waiting, and was in front of her, and ended up chatting with her quite a bit. And I think it was the next night that she was murdered.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Lana Clarkson.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also, but I walked in and there was George Perez sitting there by himself wearing his lamb chop shirt that his wife had made for him. And I know his wife made it for him because that's what I talked to him about. Because I'm a big guy and he was a big guy at the time. He lost a lot of weight since that convention. But I loved that shirt. And I'm like, where do you get your shirts? Because I had seen him in some other things. I had seen him at Phoenix Con, stuff like that. But he always had great shirts. And he said, well, my wife makes them. And I'm like, oh, that she sees. Yeah, she goes out and finds all this really unique material with different pop culture things on it, like lamb chop and the Muppets and whatever else she can find, and makes his shirts for him. And I just thought that was so awesome.
Yeah.
And he was super nice. I was there with, I believe, someone we both know, Caleb Gerard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if Caleb admits that he knows me.
Yeah. Caleb and I used to run a website called Comic World News in the early 2000s. That was my first foray into bad journalism. But I met a lot of people doing
Isn't that the one I did the column for briefly?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we ended up getting bought out by Comicraft.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a fun, and why did I bring that up? Oh, but so Caleb and I knew each other, but Caleb had actually been a fan of George's for a long time, and when George was doing Crimson Plague, he had he had his fans send in pictures of themselves, and he would pick random ones to draw into the comic. Right. And Caleb was one of them, and he got drawn in as a security guard in one of them. And so
that's right. He posted that the other day.
Yeah. So he was talking to him about that, and I was talking to him about shirts, and we just had a good old time talking to George. And like I said, I've met him a few other times, watched him do auctions at. He did an auction at Phoenix, which was really fun. I ended up winning a Mike Mignola drawn Hellboy sketch at the auction, and got to get that from George. And just so sad. I know he is well loved in the industry.
Yeah.
Also, in another industry I'm in as a photographer, I know a lot of models, and George was very popular with some models out there and stuff. Diana Knight and a few, and Diana's a huge part of the comic industry too. She's been a big help to Hero Initiative, stuff like that. But and she does a lot of the videos for the Heroes Initiative. But she used to be a model, and I knew her from that. And just it's interesting to see those two worlds collide.
Yeah,
because when you have these separate, diverse things, you don't expect them to cross over.
Yeah.
And when they do, it's like, wait, what? So
I run into that a little bit myself, where it's like, wait, how do you two know each other? Like,
there's people on my Facebook page that I'll go, okay, why are we friends again? Because it could be this, it could be this, it could be there's Satine Phoenix, who's big in the D&D community. Turns out her and I have been friends on Facebook for a very long time, and I don't remember how I know her from back when she was a model and actress, or from D&D or from comics. Or
I ran into that one time. Some friends of mine were going back and forth on one of their pages, and I said, "How do you guys know each other?" And it's like, well, we're both friends with you, and we talked a couple times on your page and decided to, so it's not a crazy random happenstance. But I feel so sorry because, I mean, not only, as we say, he's just such a well-loved guy, George, and so many good friends who are hurting now, that it's just it's I don't know, I don't know anybody, for example, who was close to Neil Adams. At least not that I associate with him, but he was just George was just so beloved that I know all these people who just they love the heck out of him. Every time I talked to him, he was a delight. So yeah.
I think Neil, in a lot of ways, was always an icon.
Certainly for us.
George, where George is an icon, but he was also a buddy in a lot of ways. He was very down to earth. He never acted like an icon. And that's not a slight against Neil, but Neil was always larger than life.
Yeah.
You meet him and you felt like, oh my God, I'm meeting Neil Adams. You talk to George, in a few seconds into talking to him, he's not, oh my God, it's George Perez. It's, oh, this guy's great.
Yeah. It's and part of that has to do with the I don't know if it's quite a generational difference, but that Neil got started at the tail end of the 60s.
Yeah.
Whereas or probably maybe not even the tail end, mid. And whereas George got started in the Bronze Age. But anyway, that's
I always think of George's art, and I think of him as, there's a couple artists that do it now, like Mark Brooks, who cram like every character they can on a cover.
Yeah.
But that was kind of George's thing, and that's, I think, what made Crisis on Infinite Earth so amazing. It wasn't just the story; it was the fact that you could look at a page. And my dad used to be a pressman, and he had an eye loop he used.
Yeah.
And he had one that he had brought home that he wasn't using anymore. And I would get that out and put it on the page just so I could go look at all the detail, because it was so tiny. And all I could think of is that George had to use an eye loop to draw that one.
Yeah. Do you remember that? Well, everybody remembers that read it, the double page spread in Crisis when everybody was on the JLA satellite, and you were just like, oh, there's that. Oh, wait, no, and you're finding like which group of characters was from which Earth and things like that. It was, and some of his Titans work was just, pretty much all his Titans work was amazing. I can't think of anything that I saw from George that I wasn't like, wow, that's tremendous. And he definitely kept getting better. He was still definitely, it was obvious that it was George Perez, but as you went along, you notice it tightened up and got a little, it just, he improved without losing that essential quality that it brought to it.
Right. Yeah. So, well, to all of you out there that are hurting because of the loss of George, much love and condolences, and while we're talking like that, to all the people out there, happy Mother's Day to everybody. To those, to all the mothers out there, thank you for everything you do. And to all of those who have lost their mother or aren't able to hug them today, we are thinking of all of you. So, yeah. All right. I'm going to shift it up a little bit.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
If I had a commercial break, this would be the time.
Comments going, please.
Yeah. Did you see the news about Doctor Who?
Yes, actually I did. I was like, did I? I've been kind of, my focus has been on some other stuff, and I saw that just today. I think this was when the announcement came out. Yeah. So
I'm going to attempt to pronounce the kid's name, and I'm going to call him a kid because he's much younger than me. Nakuti Gatwa. His name is spelled Ncuti. I do not know how to pronounce that, but he is a Rwandan Scottish descent.
Yep.
And he comes from a series on Netflix called Sex Education.
Yep.
And I was, why you and I didn't get a chance to talk just before the show is I knew nothing about this guy. So I was actually watching an interview of him talking about being Doctor Who and how excited he is, and he was talking about the legends that came before him and what this character means. And, you know, he's got all the proper comments and reverence to the character that you hope for. You know, you don't want someone to take on the role of Doctor Who and go, oh, right, well, they offered me a paycheck.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. By the way, was it just me that when you heard his name, did you think of the writer from Charlton Comics, Nick Cutie?
No. Oh, interesting. Now that you mention that, yeah, you can see that, but no.
Yeah, it's just like, wait, what? Yeah. Yeah, it's I'm excited. I'm sad for the amount of guff that he's going to get. Because
I think everyone's expecting the guff, but no one's had it. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember, how much crap floated up around, when they said that Jodie Whittaker was taking over.
Yeah.
And
which was wrong. I mean, she did a great job.
She did a fantastic job. I didn't have any lag time. She got started and I was like, okay, yeah. I didn't, every once in a while with the Doctor, you're kind of like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it. But I just felt like with her, it was just like, boom, and hit the ground running.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's been a bad Doctor.
Well, they call him the Master. No, actually, no. There's the oh gosh, what's the name of the?
I know you're thinking of the evil version of Doctor.
Yes, it starts with a R. I think.
I know who you're talking about. They talked about him in the Trial of Doctor Who or whatever it was.
Right. The
Revenant or something.
Yeah. Wow. That's going to really bother me. Oh well. We'll continue on, and if I can track it down online, then we'll.
I sadly I have not been watching Doctor Who as much as I used to.
Yeah.
When it relaunched with Christopher Eccleston, watched all of those, and I watched all of David Tennant. Watched all of Matt Smith, but I started kind of souring a little bit on it. I just felt like it didn't quite click for me as much as the other two had.
Yeah.
And then I just didn't get to watch as many of the Peter Capaldi as I wanted. I loved Peter Capaldi. I've seen a couple of the Jodie Whittaker ones. I really liked what I saw. Just haven't been able to get back to watching it steady like I did when the show first came back. But I'm really excited that Russell T Davies is returning.
That'll be very interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah. And since so far he's picked two doctors, Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant, and they're two of my favorites, I have no problem with him. Whatever he says is the next Doctor to me is the next Doctor.
Yeah.
Yep. He's got a good eye for doctors, because I don't think anybody went, oh, David Tennant. Yeah, perfect. Good choice. They most likely went, who?
Who? Yes.
From Casanova?
Although somebody made a point of how many Scottish doctors there have been.
Yes.
Which is, I thought was.
But when all else fails, you go Scottish, Peter Capaldi.
Well, the Scots are, in fact, the best people you can get for anything, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it was new Doctor Who. Is it Craig Ferguson? No. All right. Who is it?
Yeah, whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
he was in a band with Craig Ferguson? Well, that's okay then.
Yeah, I mean that was as close as they were to getting okay, but yeah.
Oh, the Valeyard is who we were
Not
looking
an
for.
R at all.
Well, there's an R in there. It's really down towards the end. It's right next to the D. So if you read it backwards, it's Dr. Alav. Dr. Alav, which is, of
Is that
course,
like
as you know,
Alucard?
Portuguese for who.
Is that like Alucard?
Yes, exactly. By the way, I don't know why I went for Portuguese, but don't bother writing in. I already know it's not true.
Go ahead and write in. We'd love to have people write in, please.
Yeah,
We'll take
well,
page
okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, show Paul if you want to show how upset you are with Paul with this joke right now. Hit the thumbs up button, and we'll know that you're upset.
Yes, because that's a like up yours, right?
Yes.
That's what that means.
Get them out of here.
Get the hook.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're not going to talk about Doctor Strange in the sense of the story. But that thing,
because I can't, because I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either, but I've had it massively spoiled.
Oh, see, please be, because I've been dodging. I've been dodging stuff.
No, I've seen footage.
And people are really, especially, on the TV shows, I can almost understand, but on the movies, it's like, oh, it's the Wednesday before the Thursday that it premieres, and here's the breakdown.
Yep. No, it's like I know all the cameos, and some of them are like, wait, what? Really? Because why?
Did they get a cameo from Rudy Giuliani?
That would have been interesting.
Have you seen he's actually doing cameos that off the website?
Yeah.
And his intro video trying to get people to do it, he's wearing these baggy shorts that go down below his knees. And then he's demonstrating putting because he's on a golf course, and he's like, oh, you can do this or that, or we can talk golf. And then he's like trying to show putting, and it's like, or no, I think it's not even a putter, it's like a driver. But it's like, if that's how you golf, Rudy, then it's not surprising that you're a scumbag traitor.
Well, I hear the January 6th committee is starting to buy some of the cameo videos as testimony. They just send the question in with $50 and then he answers. And
I could actually see that. Although that might be suborning the testimony. Did you give him money to say that? Oh, shoot. Yes, we did.
Technically, yes, but
but these, as we've been learning over the last couple of years, anything goes.
Yeah. But I was going to talk about the money that Doctor Strange is making this weekend. The estimate. Now, you know how even though it's Sunday, they've always got the estimate ready, like by Saturday night of what it's going to do for the weekend. Well, they've already estimated that. Well, Disney has come out and said that it's probably going to make $185 million domestically for the opening weekend.
Yeah.
Other industry experts project they're selling it a little short. It's probably closer to $195 million.
Well, there you go.
And then worldwide, it's looking to hit about $450 million. And you think that's on top of all the places that it's banned.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I tell you, I kind of miss being able to just throw $30 at them and watch it at home. I know everybody's like, no, you got to see it in IMAX. No, you got to see it in 3D. No, you got to see it. Like, no, maybe you do, but I will just watch a movie on a screen that's like 2.5 times the size of the largest screen I had before, before flat screens came around. We used to be excited. Oh, I got a 19-inch television.
Yeah. Well, I've got a 60-inch, and I got to tell you, I watched. I have a 60-inch. It's in the garage. I don't actually use it. I've got a 40-inch smart TV that I absolutely love. It's the HD 4K, and I watched the Batman on it, and I hadn't seen the Batman in theaters because medical stuff.
Because that's how badly they shot it.
And I love the Batman movie.
Yes. No, I was simply talking about the darkness.
Oh, but the thing was that I watched it and enjoyed it, and then I ended up watching it again. And really, a lot of that stuff kind of hit in, and I really liked it. Where you go to the theater and you see Doctor Strange, and you come out of it, you go, that was great. I kind of like to see it again, but I'm not paying another $15 to get in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping to go like maybe Tuesday with a couple of friends during the day. You know, when there's nobody in the theater and you don't have to worry about like especially like opening weekend, you get a lot of people doing the wow, wow. It's like, I understand your enthusiasm, but now I just missed a part of the.
Yeah. See, what sucks is for some reason, the theater by me now doesn't do a lot of daytime shows, so it's usually late afternoon before they start.
Yeah.
Where Lisa lives in the high desert, they have like 9:45 showings. If I had a 9:45 showing here, I'd go see it.
Yeah. I think 10 o'clock is the earliest they ever start around here, but I used to do that all the time. I'd wait for Monday after opening weekend, go to the 10 or 11 o'clock showing of something. When all my friends were like, oh, we got to go to the midnight showing. And I'm like, if you go to a midnight showing and it's a 2.5, 3-hour movie, I'm old and I can't stay up that late.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Popcorn whatever. Popcorn the kneecaps.
And the writers.
Yes. But no, that's an impressive haul for what's basically, I mean, it's doing $450 million. Only Spider-Man has done better since COVID-19 hit.
Yeah.
When Spider-Man did $600 million opening weekend. But you're looking at a difference between Spider-Man is definitely a family-friendly movie. And this is much more of a horror movie. You know, I mean, I've already seen one scene that is really disturbing.
Is it the one where Benedict Cumberbatch tries to smile and you realize he looks like the Grinch? They just did a bit on Saturday Night Live about how.
No, it's the one where he teaches us there's another way to sit on the toilet.
Oh, yeah. Well, he is the master of the mystic arts, you know, so he can float above the toilet for all we know.
You could just put an F in there and it'll go for that cool commercial. Yeah, master of the mystic. Yes.
I see what you did there.
I went for the humor. Yeah. Sorry, folks.
Now you can just wallow in your own crapulence.
Yes.
To quote The Simpsons.
Yeah. But yeah, that movie is making a fortune. It's probably going to be at the top of the box office for a couple weeks. I don't really see anything coming out in the next, shortly that's going to jump it. Actually, I don't think I double checked Box Office Mojo.
I tell you, I have gotten to the point where I don't know when things are coming out anymore, other than when somebody posts something like, "Oh, I just saw this movie," and I'm like, "Oh, I guess it's out."
Well, like next weekend, the only big thing coming out on the weekend of the 13th is Firestarter, which I don't think it could knock Doctor Strange out of the top spot.
I would not think so.
No. The week after, the Downton Abbey movie, maybe?
Yeah.
I doubt it. But by the 27th, Top Gun Maverick will be out, and that might have a chance to,
yeah.
But
Although I'm curious because when Top Gun came out, Cruise did not have the kind of baggage that he does now.
Yeah, true. When the first one came out, I went on my first date to the movie.
Oh,
I was 16. I went out on my first date to see Top Gun. So, and ironically, the girl that I went out with, within the last 6 months or so, reached out to me on Facebook, and we're kind of talking again. So it's just kind of funny.
she was like, so I went out right afterwards, joined the military, and
Hey, Jay says Jenna and I went and saw it. I have the power here. Jenna and I went and saw it twice in the same day. Once just for the two of us. The second time was because we couldn't let the roommate be spoiled. That makes sense.
So you dragged the roommates the second time.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah.
I see. Well, if you saw it twice, I was going to say, so did you enjoy it? But obviously, you went twice.
Yeah. It's another one of those things like everything else that's been coming out. There is hatred for it and loving it.
That's interesting. I haven't seen the hate.
Oh, I've seen the hate.
But I'm very curated as far as what I see online.
Yeah, especially from actual critics. I mean, you look at Rotten Tomato, it's only getting like a 79.
Yeah.
Where, most Marvel movies get in the 80s and higher, which is still 79 is not a bad score. And then or it might be 75, excuse me. But the audience score is like 87.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it is basically it's a Sam Raimi horror movie. And there are horror elements.
A comedy.
What?
A Sam Raimi horror movie. So a comedy.
Yes. There is comedy, and there is cameos. There are big cameos, and then there are Sam Raimi cameos. And probably everybody can guess what that's going to be.
I was going to say, would it be a similar cameo to a cameo we saw in, I don't know, Spider-Man?
Well, I know of one, but there's usually I know of two. There's usually three.
Yeah.
I'm
just asking. I shouldn't ask because I said not to be spoiled. Is the car in it?
Do you really want to know?
I think I already know, so I won't ask. I won't. We'll leave it in the
the three cameos I expect in a Sam Raimi movie are the car, Bruce Campbell, and his brother.
Yeah. Joxer Raimi.
Yes, Ted. And
no, I believe that was his name on the Xena show.
Yeah, he was Doxer. Yeah.
No, he was Ted. His real name's Joxer.
So
anyway,
I don't know if Ted shows up in the movie. So I am curious about that.
But yeah, that is the trifecta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, but from what I understand, there's also a lot of homages to Sam Raimi movies in the film.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, both Spider-Man and like Army of Darkness, Evil Dead. So, and there's two post-credit scenes, one that's very important, and one that's the final one. It's not important. It's the end of a joke, basically.
Yeah, I thought it's like, oh, it's just another Venom tag on, because that's but I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to Doctor Strange, which is ironic because I'll circle back to that when we talk later about the Moon Knigget.
Yeah, Jay says the only setback to seeing it twice was there's one cameo that blew my mind, and I knew it wouldn't get this exact feeling I got the first time, but was still awesome. And Jay, without saying what that cameo is it a cameo with a group of people? That's a yes or no question.
Oh,
Is
yes, and I've got the comments up, so
Oh,
putting my fingers in my ears is not going to help much.
yeah, but
Oh.
yeah, there's a couple cameos. There's one cameo that I'm surprised by, which is not the big cameo, but more because of what it ties to.
Yeah.
Yes, but
Now, is that a different group of people than popped up in the trailer?
yes,
Okay.
he's talking about a different person. And just another yes or no question, Jay. When I said that there's a scene that's disturbing, it's that scene. Do you agree that scene is somewhat disturbing from a horror standpoint? We'll let Jay answer that question.
I'm just assuming that you're saying Carl Icahn had a.
Yes, Carl Icahn forced himself into the movie.
And we're all like, ah!
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
So, all right. We should probably move on to our main topic. Well, before, though, I do want to mention that something I am definitely looking forward to is tonight is the season finale of Winning Time, written by the great Rodney Barnes. I have been enjoying this series immensely. The acting, everything else. Yeah. Okay, Jay agrees that about the scene being disturbing. Winning Time, the acting, the story itself, and I know there's been a lot of feedback, negative feedback from the people involved, as in the actual Jerry
the people
Buss.
they're playing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that's usually a better indication that it wasn't. You know, that it's when they're like, no, it wasn't like that at all. It's like, okay, so they got it right then.
Yes. Good night, Jay. So, yeah. Like Jerry Buss is threatening to sue.
Ah.
Yeah. And what's funny is I don't think Jerry Buss comes off the worst. He doesn't come off great, but he comes off as kind of an obsessed person.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now,
well,
I don't know
the
if
funny
that's
part
true.
is, it's like, so are you suing for go away money, or are you suing because you're actually upset?
Yeah.
You know, because it's doing well. You know.
Yeah. Well,
So,
also it's already renewed for a second season.
mm.
And I am excited for the second season for what might be the dumbest reason. I am a Lakers fan. I grew up a Lakers fan. This covers the 1979-1980 season. After that season, they drafted my favorite player on the Lakers, Kurt Rambis. And I just want to see Kurt Rambis done in the show because he was such a unique player. He was like one of the few basketball players that wore horn-rimmed glasses while playing. They always called him Clark Kent. And there was a good chance that if he was playing, he was going to end up bleeding. That somebody was going to hit, you know, that he was a power forward, always getting in there, fighting for the rebounds and always getting hit in the face. And his glasses always getting hit against him and cutting his skin. And just, you know, it was always blood running down the side of his face during the game. And it's like, yep, Kurt's in there. Kurt's kicking ass.
I was going to say, so he's the Hanson brothers of basketball.
In a way, yeah. All rolled into one. Yeah. So
sorry,
I'm
that's
looking.
the closest I can come to a. That's not even technically a sports reference.
It's a perfect reference, though.
It's a sports movie reference.
Yeah, it is a perfect reference. So
there is one thing we should talk about. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you done saying?
Yeah.
I was going to say before we jump to the conclusion of our Moon Knight. One question: did you get a chance to see Strange New Worlds?
I have not. I still haven't got Paramount Plus.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Well, you should, if you haven't gotten it, you can probably, you know, I always say, wait a couple more weeks so you've got a backlog built up, and then do the free preview.
Yeah, I may do that. But from what I understand, it's the show so far worth getting Paramount Plus for.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty funny that so many people are like, kind of now. Whether you like Picard or whether you like Discovery or not, it's just it. I find it funny that everybody's like, "Hey, the retro show," you know. It's like, uh, they're just so focused on that, like, oh, and they did this and they did this and they've got their uniforms are kind of there, and it's like I was half expecting it to get Enterprise reactions
Yeah.
of like, which I honestly watched the first episode of Enterprise and went, it's really odd that the technology is more advanced than they had on supposedly the later show, or TOS.
Yeah, but
But
Enterprise also had the rock ballad opening.
it's been a long time getting from there to here. And I apologize to everybody whose ears I just assaulted. But hey, it had a beagle in it.
Yes, it did. Speaking of songs, I had a song stuck in my head driving home today, and I knew that it had been in something I had watched,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't for the life of me remember what it was. And it's a very old song called "We'll Meet Again."
Don't know where. Don't know
Meet
where.
again. Don't know where. And I Googled it. I started searching once I got home, and I had an hour and a half drive.
Yeah.
So it was going through my head for a long time. And finally I figured out what it was by looking it up on Wikipedia, looking in where else it had been.
Yeah.
And finally it was in Pennyworth, in an episode of Pennyworth, to overshoot the fascists. They start singing that song.
Ah,
And I don't think I'd ever heard it before that.
really?
Yeah.
Huh.
At least
Interesting.
it never made an impression on me that I remembered it.
Because very often it'll show up in movies or TV set in the like 40s, I think. But yeah. Interesting.
Mhm.
I have not seen Pennyworth.
Pennyworth
Because
is
there's a lot
surprisingly
of
good.
stuff that I haven't. Wait, Pennyworth isn't on.
It's on HBO Max now.
Oh, it is now. Okay, because
Yeah.
I for the longest time I didn't have HBO Max, so yeah.
Well, it used to be on Stars. It just recently moved over to HBO Max,
Right,
and then
right.
the upcoming third season will be on HBO Max as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I went through and I binge watched the first two seasons, and I covered it on the Dan Wickline show, and loved it. Loved it for its insanity. It is just.
I've heard good things about it. Yeah, but
The most amazing part is it's supposed to be a prequel to
sure.
Gotham. And it's supposed to be kind of the origin story for Sean Pertwee's character. But then Gotham got ended and they were moving this along, and they kind of went, well, we don't have to be connected to Gotham, even though it's
right.
Danny Cannon and it's the guys who created Gotham. So they went, well, the whole thing is based off of a line from The Dark Knight, where Alfred is telling Batman that he used to be part of the SAS. And that's what they pick up from. Now, I know that they've kind of done that with the character in stuff like the Batman Earth 1 series, things like that. But they picked up on that, and they ran with it so much that they thought, well, we're really going to be kind of a prequel to The Dark Knight, and we're kind of be Michael Caine's Alfred. And in doing so, they got a guy who sounds and acts so much like a young Michael Caine, it's scary. if you close your eyes, you could easily imagine you're watching Alfie or Get Carter.
Well, that's where Alfie came from.
They even call him Alfie in the series as a nod to Michael Caine's. And there's a street or a store or something that they name in the show that's named after Michael Caine's real last name, which slips off the top of my mind right now. It's like Maurice White something or other. But so yeah, it is fascinating watching this guy be Michael Caine. And you watch interviews with him. Yeah, that's exactly how he sounds.
Yeah. Maurice Joseph Micklewhite.
Micklewhite. Yeah, there's a store or a street named Micklewhite.
God.
I knew the word white was in there. I didn't know whether it was front or back.
Well, it was, it was England. There's a lot.
But no, I recommend Pennyworth for its insanity. You're not going to watch it and go, oh, this is canon. No, this is Danny canon, but it's not canon because, this is definitely an Elseworld. And it just gets so far out there. And, what's the guy's name? The guy that plays the big bad in this is just so good. And he's been in so many things. But, I mean, I haven't talked about the show in a while, but I really enjoyed it. Their version of Thomas Wayne, their version of Martha Kane. Even they have an Aleister Crowley.
Okay.
Yes. And the Queen and Alfred and his special relationship with the Queen.
Ooh. See her corgi breeder?
Close. Yeah, it is fantastic. First season starts off very normal and then takes some odd turns. The second season is batshit crazy.
Yeah.
So, and I can't
believe it's just known as guano.
I can't imagine what the third season is going to be. So,
yeah.
All right, let's talk Moon Knight. After episode 5, which was this deep emotional dive, and by the way, spoilers. Let me put the spoiler banner up. We're definitely doing spoilers here. So, yeah, after episode 5, which was really emotional, you had, the losing of the Stephen Grant persona, lots of hints to other things. The amazing Towerette, the hippo goddess who,
hello,
yes, it's like Mrs. Doubtfire as an Egyptian god.
Yeah. Ooh, is he always like that? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that comparison, but she's definitely Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah. So we get this new season or this new episode, and not surprising, we have to spend time with Layla and Harrow because, well, Mark's dead or Stephen's dead. Mark's in the
well, you have to be dead to be in the Field of Reeds.
Field of Reeds, yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's so quiet, which is funny because if you think about it, in Spider-Man No Way Home, when they fix Dr. Ock's arms and they, he gets control of the arms again, that's the first, he says the exact same line about it so quiet. So.
Oh, right, because the arms used to be in his head.
Yeah. So it's an interesting parallel there. But
yes, he's, well, put it this way. We got to see how irritating it was when Khonshu started talking to Stephen. So, that would be, maybe it's not so, maybe it's a little more understandable how Harrow ended up binky bonkers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got to say that there hadn't been a lot of action in this series.
Yep.
And every once in a while when we get what we would think would be the big action scene was in a blackout.
Yeah.
which
and then they cut back and go, usually to Steven going, here, what just happened? What?
So this was heavy action. A freaking kaiju battle between Egyptian gods.
You know what I thought of when they started going at it? Big Trouble in Little China, where Egg Shen and Lo Pan were doing that weird kind of video game version of while they were pushing back and forth with the rays, and behind them were the giant light constructs fighting. But
yeah,
I was a little confused because Tawedit had talked last episode about how all these new souls were plunging into the Duat.
Yeah.
And then this time she was eating them, which I thought was a little like, but that's
maybe her eating them then sends them into the Duat.
Well, I was going to say that they set it up so that if the feather was heavier than the heart was heavier than the feather, then supposedly she ate the heart.
But I think the ones that we saw falling were the guards and the security people at the check post that Harrow took out before Amit was released. And then once she was released, she ate them.
Yeah.
At least that's my guess.
Yeah. But I really liked the look of Amit. I give him points on that.
Oh yeah, she was badass.
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you, and it's going to shock you, I'm sure. For me, it was way too little, way too late. I still, and it doesn't help that that's not the Moon Knight I'm interested in. While you have mentioned that the newer stuff, newer series and miniseries and whatnot have really amped up the mystical stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's personal taste. But I was just, it did kind of hurt though that in the last episode it's like, oh look, they have a really cool fight scene. Yeah. Oh, did you notice, by the way, that Layla had red panels on the side of her outfit? Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, she's the Scarlet Scarab.
Oh yes, although I thought it was a little. I guess Toedit's chest plate had a kind of a scarabee motif to it, but it felt a little weird because I was like, why did the hippo god turn her into a bird? And then I went, oh, okay, not technically scarab.
Yeah.
Yes, but it was not very plain.
Yeah.
I did really like the moment where the little girl is like, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" And she's like, "Yeah."
You know what's funny is that when I saw that, I really liked it, but I've expected people to go, "Really? That's just so over the top." But that's the one thing I've universally heard people go, "That was a cool moment."
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like it's set in the Marvel universe, the MCU, so I could see, a kid being like, "Oh, that's so cool." We've got our own.
Oh yeah, someone who's lived through the snap that affected everybody. Someone who lived through a giant celestial coming up out of the ground, and another one showing up over London or whatever it was, and all of the other weird sky gods and battles and invasions of New York. Yeah, I think this kid knows what a superhero is at this point.
Yeah. What was it? Somewhere online, I saw that somebody refer to her as Isis, and I'm like,
no.
The character from Saturday Morning was not originally associated with DC, but then when she was associated with DC, not Marvel.
Yeah. No, she's supposed to be the Scarlet Scarab,
right?
Which I have heard so many people refer to as a villain from the Invaders. And I want to walk up and smack each one of those people, because just by saying a villain, you give the wrong connotation. He was an antagonist for the Invaders.
He definitely fought the Invaders.
He fought the Invaders. But his thing was he was a protector of Egypt. Right. He was a hero for Egypt. And if you think about it, during World War II, England had tried to, had control over that area for a long time.
Yeah.
The English were not well liked. So when the Invaders showed up with Union Jack and other, I think Spitfire, it wasn't really well received. And of course, they had the standard comic thing of the misunderstanding fight. And then he ended up helping them at the end. And then this second appearance, he worked with the Axis people, but it didn't make him a villain. It made him the hero of Egypt.
Yeah. Well, that's like, I'm pretty sure that if Captain Britain starts doing something over in Ireland, they're not going to be all like, woohoo!
Oh, yeah. Shamrock's going to show up and kick his ass.
Well, Shamrock might show up to try. Now, Banshee could do it.
Banshee, yeah. Either one. Or Siren.
Yeah. Who then was Banshee for a while.
No, Siren is Banshee's daughter.
Yes, but she went by Banshee for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was it was one of those things where every time I ran into the character, I'm like, wait, she's back. Now she's back to Siren? Wait. Stop.
Yeah. That bugs me a bit about comics, but I thought it was interesting because I think there's a lot that this Layla character had to carry. First thing, as an actress, she's working against Oscar Isaac, who is doing a fantastic performance. Whether you like the way they're
I'm not arguing with you.
Also, Ethan Hawke is doing a great performance. So she's playing off of these two really good performances, and she's holding her own for a somewhat new actress. I haven't seen her in a lot. So, yeah. But then put in the fact that originally she was supposed to be Marlene, which was the original girlfriend for Mark Spector. And then when Muhammad...
For Stephen Grant.
Well, she had a kid with Jake Lockley.
I was curious about the Spanish.
I'm curious about that too.
Jake Lockley.
Yeah, I don't understand that part, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Mohamed Diab said, "Well, we'd like to make her Egyptian, so it would make more sense, and that and also to kind of better represent that area and that culture." So Marvel went, go ahead and make the change. And then they went out and found this character, Scarlet Scarab, and they used the last name. And her middle name is actually a play off of Abdul Fahal, or however I'm slaughtering the pronunciation. But, her middle name is kind of a play off of that. And her last name is the same as Scarlet Scarab. So a lot of people were going, oh, is she going to become the Scarlet Scarab? Which... pretty obscure character. Again, showed him twice in Invader comics, and that's it.
Yeah, and it was wasn't it a continued story or no?
No,
no, he came back.
Okay. Yeah, but the other thing was Mohammed was also known for having come out and talked about how insulting the portrayal of Egypt was in Wonder Woman. In Wonder Woman 1984. And
pretty much other than the mall scene, the whole of Wonder Woman 84 was fairly insulting.
Yeah, there's a lot wrong with that movie.
And it probably did not help in that respect that that Gal Gadot is Israeli, as far as people in the Middle East are concerned.
Could be, yeah. But so there is definitely a Wonder Woman feel to some of the things that Layla does.
Mm.
The wings on her character compared to the golden wing suit that Wonder Woman gets. So it does feel a little bit, and I don't know if this is in purpose, but it does feel like Mojave going, yeah, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
And I thought she was awesome. I thought the fight scene with, well, I want to say her, Mark, and Steven was pretty damn good. I loved how they moved, and when Steven's like, I learned some new things, and he runs out there
and like punches the two guys. And, I mean, that's part of what, again, I'm just a crabby old school run of the mill superhero fan, I guess, because I wanted to see more of that. It just felt, seeing the big fight in the street, that was the kind of thing that I wanted to see, and it is a small part of the last episode. I think that made me, I guess I should have been just happy for it, but instead I kind of was like, darn it, see, they could have done more cool stuff. And the switching back and forth between Mark and Steven, with Mr. Knight and Moon Knight. I thought that was nicely done. And as you say, the Scarlet Scarab. Ooh, I have great ideas for your costume. Which that I thought was funny, as opposed to, I was expecting her to say something more like outfit.
Yeah.
Rather than costume, because but hey, I guess Towedit's been running people to the through the Duat to the field of reeds. So I guess she's up what's going on Earth these days.
I think everything Towret was awesome. I just loved that character. She was such a breath of fresh air in a series that was a pretty heavy series.
Yeah.
And
the fact that she came in right at the towards the end of the deeply disturbing, sad episode, that was a adding a leitmotif, as the music folks say.
Yes. Yeah, the little hello and the two of them screaming was such a great way to end episode 5, which was just so, or 4, and then episode 5 with leaving Steven. So the fact that we get Steven back quickly gives us that, okay, because I know a lot of people thought Steven was the better character. They like Steven better than Mark.
Well, it's not surprising that the very bright, gentle, kind gift shop guy was better received than, you killed all these people guy.
But I think a lot of people kind of warmed up to Mark when he went back and he gave that little speech.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love that Steven's first thing was, you came back? Are you mental?
I thought too, but he hit a note where he was like, what's going on or whatever. He's like, I gave a little speech. He's like, it wasn't that little. Yeah. It's like, well, you just listened to him. Apparently you heard it all, but you still decided to take the dig.
Yep. Which is good on Steven. Good for him.
But there were a lot of good parts I felt to the end, but to me, I'm also not that huge on Moon Knight as a like highly mystical character. I know that a lot of people said, "Oh, well, that was a breath of fresh air," instead of him just being, Marvel Batman.
Mhm.
But one of the things I kind of liked about his early incarnations is for a long time we weren't really like he wasn't even positive. Certainly, Marlene wasn't positive that he actually was resurrected and given,
Yeah.
powers and stuff. Um, or to what degree Khonshu was actually, um, doing something for him rather than,
Yeah.
uh,
No, I'll be completely honest. This is not the Moon Knight I would have written.
mm,
I would have gone more for the Doug Munch, Bill Sienkiewicz run. I would
yeah,
have done Bushman and maybe Hatchet Man, and I would have focused on that part because that's the one I grew up with.
yeah,
And I wasn't thrilled with the idea that we were going to lean into the more recent incarnation of a character,
yeah,
all the stuff. But I thoroughly enjoyed the series. I liked what they did. And again, it's that separating. This is the MCU. The Marvel, the Moon Knight that I grew up with still exists in those comics. We're not
yeah.
getting new stories about him,
I'm
but
not saying it's bad because of it.
right,
Some people like if it wasn't what I was expecting, it was bad. Not saying that at all. But for me, it was sort of like, um, uh, ordering pizza at a restaurant and getting like one of the newfangled, oh yes, this is a goat cheese and fennel, where I'm like, it might be good, but that wasn't what I was hoping for when I ordered it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
uh, yeah,
I get it.
yeah,
Yeah, and I know a lot of people. I mean, I think that's where a lot of the negativity online comes from. Is that this wasn't the Moon Knight people wanted to see, and you know, okay,
yeah,
I get it. But I think what they did. I mean, it wasn't the Moon Knight I wanted to see, but I really appreciate what they did.
mm,
But I will tell you that had that post credit or the mid credit scene not been in the series, I would not have been happy with the finale.
yeah. Well, that was weird too because they only did the usually there's one in the fifth episode
Yeah, they didn't.
and they did do it and then I was confused, a little confused on how that all worked out too, because like the guy walking in and going speaking Spanish to somebody who was speaking English and saying, "Oh no, I'm taking him," and it's like it felt a little like what the not a ooh what's going on here, but like what the what why
I can tell
so
you my impression that I got, which is that I think Jake Lockley is the person who really made the deal with, or is the person that Khonshu has given more power to.
mm,
So stuff like where he wipes out Harrow and his guys, and you look at the aftermath of that fight, and
right
signs on buildings are destroyed. There's cars on fire and flipped over. So Jake seems to have a bigger power level, but
yeah
he's also seems to have maybe this ability to charm, which we got a hint at with the fact that he got Steven a date.
do we know that he got Steven the date?
I'm pretty
I
sure it wasn't Mark who still loved his wife, but was trying to keep away from her. I don't think he would bring somebody else into his
Yeah,
life.
fair enough. Well, it wasn't
So
his life; it was Steven's life.
yes, but yeah. So I think it was Jake. So I think Jake charmed that girl.
Mm,
And if you watch her hands, she kind of gets to the point where she doesn't know where to put her hands, like someone who is reacting romantically, or
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
But
and the fact that but I don't get why he's speaking Spanish at all.
Somebody said, well, that's just maybe a nod to um, Oscar Isaac's heritage. I'm like, okay, but odd.
Yeah, and if it had taken place in a Spanish-speaking country, that wouldn't have thrown me off either. But they were in London.
Yeah.
You get outside and you see the stupid egg building. I'm going to probably get hate mail for saying stupid egg building, but
yeah. And also, did you find it? This is very nitpicky. I found it really odd that the limo's license plate was Spectre.
it's right out of the comics. There's literally a white limo in it with the name Spectre as a license plate.
Okay, but it's weird for
Yeah.
it's not Mark Spector who rides around with a Spectre license plate. It's
Right.
the Moon Knight limo,
Yeah.
or whatever. But
yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, there's a lot of questions, but
yeah,
it was
which apparently we're not going to get answers to. They still said they're not. I guess so far.
You ask the director, he'll tell you that Marvel would be stupid not to do more stuff. You ask Oscar Isaac, he says if the story's right, he's more than happy to come back. Marvel is not saying there's going to be more,
Right?
But my feeling is that Marvel isn't saying there's going to be more because they want this to be considered a limited series.
Mm-hmm.
Because then they can put it up for Emmy nominations as a limited series, which puts it up against a completely different and smaller group than if it was an ongoing series. And I think they want to do that because I think they want the prestige of an Emmy off of their series.
Interesting. Yeah. By the way, did you notice that at the tail end of the credits, they put up a National Association of Mental. It's called NAMI, NAMI. And now I'm going to have to look it up because this is driving me nuts. Basically, if you're having issues with mental health, go to the National Alliance on Mental Illness. That's what it's called.
I didn't see it, but yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I know they brought in an actual consultant for DID, just as they brought in a consultant for Egypt. They really went out of their way to try to get everything right. So
I'm still a little. I'm jumping around. Finish what you were saying, Dan.
I did find it interesting that the clinic was the Sienkiewicz Institute, or and they actually reached out to Bill Sienkiewicz and asked him if he would be offended if they named an institution after him. And he said, I would be offended if you didn't. Yeah. And they got his name right, which most people online can't seem to pronounce.
Well, I actually heard early on, like in the 80s when he was going, I used to pronounce it Sienkiewicz.
Same here. And then I saw it broken out phonetically, and he's come out and said it's Sienkiewicz.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was, and then I think a year of me calling him Bill Sienkiewicz, I heard him. I don't know, maybe on a convention panel or something, or like from another pro that it's Sienkiewicz, and I'm like, well, now I feel like an idiot. But then I've been able to turn up my nose at people for a couple of decades. Where I believe you mean Bill Sienkiewicz.
I know at one point in the letters page, they put a pronunciation guide for all the people working at Marvel. And there was quite a few. It was like, Moench, Munch. Okay, got that one. Okay. That would be like,
I'm kind of surprised that I always pronounce Buscema right.
Yeah.
Or close. but that may be because here in Detroit we had a pizza franchise called Buscemi's. Sorry. So it was like, well, that must be that. It must be close to that.
Yeah.
But there were also people going around going, "Oh, I love the Buscamas."
Oh, see, I was close to Buscema, is how I pronounced it.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's yeah. But yeah, there were several people where it was like, oh, well, and of course, George Perez. We all at the beginning were, oh, George Perez.
yeah,
And there are still people doing it. It's like, nope, it's Perez. Emphasis on the first syllable.
that's why there's a little tilde on it.
Yeah, it's almost like, we should have paid attention to that.
Yeah, I did an article about him today, and I was like, oh, how do I do that symbol? Where's
where
my
you have
ASCII card?
Yeah. I just go into the character map and find it, and usually it'll translate over even if you.
Yeah, the other thing is if you see it on another website, just copy and paste it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, all you actually really is if you can find any article about him by a bigger website, will usually like a news source will actually, for the last few decades has been getting it right.
CNN covered his passing.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. They also covered his passing. So
yeah, I'm actually wondering if part of that was the fact that there's while he didn't create Young Justice, he created Nightwing, co-created Nightwing, and all this stuff. So
yeah.
and there's Titans TV show, and there's been Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, and I wonder if part of that is that since it's a lot of his creations have spread beyond the comics.
Yeah.
But
That's possible.
yeah, but yeah, it's anyway. Sorry, we're skipping off of Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Now, see, I always heard Doug's last name pronounced Mensch, because and usually in German, if there's two vowels together, usually it's the second one is emphasized. But but I didn't look it up in the Marvel name directory. So
yeah. I always think of him as the same as the character from Homicide.
Richard Belzer.
Yes. By the way, Richard Belzer's character's Munch has been on more series
than any other character. Yeah.
Yeah, he's guested on so many shows as Munch, including the X-Files and the Simpsons.
Yep.
That's amazing to me. But all right, so the way they wrapped up the show, they're definitely going to do something else with him. They can't leave it like that.
I mean, there were threads. By the way, and I know some people probably loved it. I so could have done without the oops, I've still got a tether on.
Yeah, I could have skipped that too.
Yeah, it just felt.
I don't necessarily liked how that part of it ended, because to me it was very ambiguous. I could have, I would have been happy with different, give me something else. But but the Jake Lockley ending made that work for me. So I kind of like, all right.
Although it does make that weird thing of like, okay, if they think there's just the two of them, well, Mark was kind of getting inklings. It felt more so than Steven, but it just it seemed like their kind of brotherly banter in their final scene felt really at odds if they're going like, oh, we're still having to tie ourselves up because we're having blackouts.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't think they did it. I never thought, I always thought when when Steven would be out and then suddenly wake up in his bed unaware, it was that Jake put him back to bed. Because I don't see Jake as being a bad guy. I see Jake as the guy that does what has to be done.
Yeah.
You know?
But I know, but but then I would have expected somewhere earlier in the series for because Steven was the one who put the thing on. Yeah. Jake just put it back on. But if they're still having blackouts and stuff, it seems odd to me that they were like, oh, hey, oh, and I hate your place and stuff. That
didn't see them do a lot of note comparing either.
Yeah.
Which they may start doing, but so yeah, I think they definitely have to address that going forward. Yeah. Unless Khonshu makes him forget when Jake pops out.
Could be.
If that's
But and you know what we also never learned about? Why was there a scarab in an alpine castle?
It was an artifact that got stolen and sold to some weirdos, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it just seemed sort of like, ooh, this is. It felt to me like it's like, ooh, this is relevant. Oh no, it's not.
Yeah. There are some things that got glossed over. I will give you that.
So
just like, well, are they going to question why there's now 2 goldfish? There are things that they should
just would have expected a goldfish with 2 fins.
A 2-headed goldfish.
Yes.
That would have been awesome. But yeah. So I like the show. I definitely hope they do more with the character. My guess is the next time we'll see him will probably be in the Halloween special.
Right.
But again, not sure what's going on with that. They seem to just be starting to film it, which seems...
Well, of course, in this case, they're only doing, like an hour and a half, 2 hours, as opposed to having to do 6 hours of...
Yeah, but they're doing it about a werewolf, so there's a lot of CGI.
Well, maybe it'll be all practical. Hello, I'm Jack Russell. You may know me as the guy looks like Lon Chaney Jr. Speaking of that, have you looked at the Pentaveret yet?
I've seen clips of it. I haven't watched it yet, but I did see
it does not exactly follow the description from How I Married an Axe Murderer. So I Married an Axe Murderer. But then again, that was the crazy father's conspiracy idea. So but I really enjoyed it. It had some real... I mean, there were a couple of places where I literally laughed out loud.
Now, that's on Netflix, right?
It is on Netflix.
So the whole season already dropped?
Yep. So 6 episodes.
Okay. I will try to watch it this week, and maybe we can talk about it next Sunday.
Next Sunday, I will not be around. It is my makeup game that I didn't do last week.
Okay.
So, yep.
I will try to watch it, and then when you do come back, I will. We will talk about it. So I did see a clip though where Shrek steps in and tries to save somebody.
I don't know what you're talking about. I would never. Oh wait, there's spoilers. Yes, and guess who did the voice of him?
Michael Myers?
No, Mike Myers. Michael Myers doesn't say anything.
I loved the movie So I Married an Axe Murderer.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. I quote it a lot because my nephew has a large head.
He hunts. No.
Yes. And constantly I have to explain to him because he's never seen the movie.
Yeah.
So I'll be walking in, Downhead. What?
Oh,
You gonna
that
cry
was a bit
yourself?
offsides, wasn't it? He'll be crying himself to sleep on his great pillow tonight. Reminds me of some of my relatives, let me say that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Although my dad lost his accent. I had one uncle who kept his Scottish accent all the way.
My mother was born in England. My grandmother was born in County Cork, Ireland. And I'm pretty sure both of them got rid of their accent on the boat over.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I never knew him, but my grandfather lost his accent almost right away because he was out and working. Whereas my grandmother was a housewife, so she wasn't really interacting with that many people that didn't talk like her. So she never had to lose it, which was really bad for me as a kid because I half the time couldn't understand her. So, yes, but yes, we shall definitely talk about the Pantaveret at some point.
Yes, we promised we're not going to do the entire episode in Scottish accents.
Oh, I never made that promise, laddie.
I promise. I also promise that I still have
the mute
button. Yes. And I haven't used that in a long time.
No, but I knew as soon as you started to talk that was what you were going to bring up. That you have the power over the mute button.
Yes, I have the power. Ooh, a Scottish He-Man. How hilarious would that be?
Well, he's already wearing a skirt.
True.
So it's a very actually what he's wearing is an oversized sporran.
That is true.
Yes.
Yep. All right. I think on that point, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Moon Knight's done. Obi-Wan Kenobi is in the future, and we'll see how that comes up.
Yeah, we will talk a couple of weeks, really.
Yeah, the end of the month.
Yeah. 27th.
Looking forward to that. Yep. Looking forward to Miss Marvel. It's got some.
And she's in June, right?
June 8th. So they're going to run concurrently. So they're actually putting Kenobi out on Fridays.
Yeah. Yeah. That is something I don't understand about Paramount Plus. They had the last episode of Picard and the first episode of Strange New Worlds run on the same Thursday. Like, why not just wait a week?
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course, I often find it a little strange that I need to shut up quickly. But I find it strange that these like they pick a day, and I'm like, regular networks, schedule stuff. You could have more than one thing running. Just pick a different day to release it.
Yep. Looks like they moved Kenobi to the 40th anniversary of Star Wars or 45th anniversary of Star Wars.
No, because it was going to be May 25th.
Yeah.
And then they went, oh nope, we're going for Friday.
Yeah. So where they could have just already launched it this week, pick up and then not have it overlap with Miss Marvel, but
yeah.
All right. Well, you enjoy your game next week. I will be back with probably somebody sitting in the co-host chair. And everybody have a good week. Tune into the Dan Wickline Show, and I'll see you all later. Good night.